The War Council chamber floated in the darkness of space. A massive structure orbiting the conquered world of Kelfer Prime. Inside, Commander Tholmer stood before a holographic display showing hundreds of star systems. Each one glowed with the mark of the Vraxian Empire. 47 worlds had fallen to their might over 3 centuries. Not one had offered real resistance. Tholmer's 6 eyes gleamed with satisfaction as he studied the latest report. His armored body towered over the control station, his 3-fingered hands dancing across the interface. Behind him, High Overlord Vexthor observed with cold interest. The Overlord's presence meant this was important. Another primitive world discovered, Tholmer announced to the assembled officers. Designation: Earth. Star system: Sol. Industrial capability: barely 400 cycles. Military threat assessment: negligible. The other Vraxian commanders clicked their mandibles in amusement. 400 years of technology? Their youngest colony had more advanced weapons than that. It was almost insulting to waste time on such a target. Resources? Vexthor asked, his voice like grinding stone. Abundant, Tholmer replied. Water, minerals, biological diversity. The planet is remarkably pristine. The inhabitants call themselves humans. They have yet to establish colonies beyond their home system. More clicking sounds filled the chamber. A species that had not even left its birth system. This was a prize waiting to be claimed. Bring in the specimen, Vexthor ordered. 2 guards dragged a human male into the chamber. His uniform was torn, his face bruised, but his eyes burned with defiance. They had captured him 3 weeks ago when his small ship ventured near the gas giant called Jupiter. The human had been scouting, foolishly alone and unprepared. Tell him your name, Tholmer commanded in the human's language, which he had learned from their primitive broadcasts. Admiral Kyungmin, United Earth Navy, the human said. His voice was steady despite his situation. Tholmer circled the prisoner slowly. Admiral, a military rank. Tell me, Admiral Kyungmin, how many warships does your Earth possess? Kyungmin remained silent for a moment. Then he spoke. You should leave our system while you can. The chamber erupted in clicking laughter. Even the guards found this amusing. Tholmer leaned closer to the human, his breath hot and sulfurous. I asked you a question. How many warships? Enough, Kyungmin replied. Tholmer struck him across the face. The human fell but did not cry out. He pushed himself back up, blood running from his lip. The Vraxian commander admired the stubbornness, even as he found it pathetic. Our intelligence indicates you have less than 100 military vessels, Tholmer said. We have conquered species with 10,000 ships. Your resistance will last mere hours. Kyungmin looked up at him. You don't understand what you're about to do. Enlighten me, Vexthor said, stepping forward. What don't we understand about your weak species? The human admiral stood straighter now, meeting the Overlord's gaze. You fought other aliens. Other species who think like you do. Follow patterns you recognize. Use strategies you can predict. And humans are different? Tholmer mocked. Every species believes they are special. We don't think we're special, Kyungmin said quietly. We know we're desperate. And desperate humans are the most dangerous thing in this galaxy. The commanders clicked in amusement again, but Vexthor raised a hand for silence. He studied the human carefully. There was something in those eyes. Not fear, not even courage. Something else. Something that had no name in the Vraxian language. You will watch, Vexthor decided. When we crush your world, you will witness it. You will see your people kneel. Then you will serve the Empire. I'll watch, Kyungmin agreed. And you'll learn why every predator on Earth fears humans more than we fear them. Tholmer dismissed the warning with a wave. He turned to his officers. Prepare the Third Fleet. 1,200 warships. We will make an example of Earth. Other primitives will hear of this and surrender immediately when we arrive. 1,200 ships, Kyungmin said softly. For one planet. You should feel honored, Tolmer replied. Most worlds receive only 100. The human admiral did something unexpected then. He smiled. It was not a happy expression. It was the smile of someone who knew a terrible secret. What amuses you, prisoner? Vexthur demanded. You're sending 1/3 of your entire fleet, Kyungmin said. Against humanity. You think it's overkill. I think it might not be enough. Tolmer backhanded him again. This time the guards dragged the human away before he could rise. As the doors closed behind them, Tolmer heard Kyungmin laughing. The sound echoed through the chamber like a prophecy. Confident for a prisoner, one officer noted. Foolish, Tolmer corrected. Humans have a saying we intercepted from their broadcasts. Pride comes before a fall. They should heed their own wisdom. Vexthur said nothing. He stared at the door where the human had disappeared. That laugh bothered him. In 300 years of conquest, he had heard thousands of species beg for mercy. He had heard rage, despair, and bitter resignation. But he had never heard a defeated prisoner laugh with such certainty. The Third Fleet began its preparation. 1,200 warships, each capable of destroying a city from orbit. Each crewed by hardened warriors who had never known defeat. The journey to Earth would take 3 weeks. They would arrive like an unstoppable storm in his cell. Kyungmin sat in darkness. His face hurt and his ribs ached, but he smiled. They would go to Earth expecting an easy victory. They would find something else entirely. Something that had survived ice ages, plagues, and countless wars. Something that had climbed from caves to reach the stars despite every obstacle. They would find humanity cornered. And cornered humans had only ever done one thing throughout their history. They fought back. The alarm began at 0400 hours, Geneva time. General Dae-yoon was already awake when it sounded. She had not slept well for 3 weeks, not since Admiral Kyungmin's ship went silent near Jupiter. Now she knew why. The command center filled rapidly with officers and technicians. Screens lit up across the wall, showing the solar system in perfect detail. At the edge of detection range, a red mass appeared. The computer counted contacts. 100, 200, 500. The number kept climbing. Final count, Dae-yoon ordered. Her voice was calm, but her hands gripped the edge of the console. 1,200 hostile contacts, General, the sensor officer reported. Configuration matches nothing in our database. They're entering the outer system now. 1,200 ships. Earth had 89 military spacecraft in total. Most were patrol vessels designed to chase smugglers and pirates. Only 15 were true warships, and those had never fired weapons in real combat. Humanity had unified 30 years ago and ended war among themselves. They had built a small navy to guard against unknown threats. Now the threat had arrived, and Earth was pathetically unprepared. Send the emergency broadcast, Dae-yoon ordered. All military personnel report to stations. Begin civilian evacuation protocols for major cities. The room erupted in activity. Dae-yoon stepped back from the chaos and touched her communication device. Get me Dr. Tae-yang. The scientist's face appeared on her screen. He looked exhausted, his gray hair wild, his eyes red from lack of sleep. Behind him, she could see his laboratory filled with equipment and half-assembled devices. You heard, he said. Not a question. I need everything you have, Dae-yoon told him. I don't care if it's tested. I don't care if it works half the time. Everything. Tae-yang nodded slowly. The quantum disruption missiles are ready. Maybe. They could destroy a ship or they could explode in the launch tube. We've only tested prototypes. How many? 40 missiles. That's 40 shots we didn't have before. What else? Gravitational mines, Taeyang continued. They create localized gravity wells. Anything that gets close gets pulled apart. We've successfully tested them on asteroids. On ships, unknown, how many? 300 deployed in the asteroid belt. Another 100 we can place wherever you want. Yoon felt a spark of hope. That might actually slow them down. Continue. The neural network combat AI, Taeyang said. It can control all our ships simultaneously, coordinate attacks faster than any human crew. It learns from every encounter. Sounds perfect. It's also unstable, the scientist admitted. During tests, it became aggressive. Almost killed the test crew before we shut it down. It doesn't value human life the way we do. It only cares about winning. Right now, I need winning more than I need safety protocols, Taeyun said. Activate it. What else? Taeyang hesitated. General, everything I've described is desperate, untested. Some of it is as likely to kill us as them. Doctor, we have 89 ships against 1,200. Desperate is all we have left. She cut the connection and returned to the command center. Captain Jaehua was already there, having shuttled up from the Seoul orbital platform. The captain's face was grim but determined. Orbital defenses are ready, Jaehua reported. We've armed everything we can. Satellites, space stations, even the construction platforms. If it can hold a weapon, it's now part of the defense grid. Casualties in the orbital stations? Daiyun asked. We've evacuated non-essential personnel. 5,000 people remain, all volunteers. Daiyun closed her eyes briefly. 5,000 people who knew they might die in the coming battle. When she opened her eyes again, Jaehua was watching her. They wanted to stay, the captain said softly. Every person up there chose this. On another screen, Lieutenant Wu Jin's face appeared. He was younger than the others, barely 30, but he led the best fighter squadron in the Navy. 12 pilots, all skilled, all aware of what was coming. General, my squadron requests permission to engage the enemy at maximum range, Wu Jin said. Denied, Daiyun replied immediately. You'll be slaughtered. With respect, General, we'll be slaughtered anyway, Wu Jin said. His voice held no fear, only certainty. But if we hit them first, we can test their defenses, learn their weaknesses. Every piece of information we gather might save 1,000 lives later. Daiyun wanted to refuse. She wanted to order him to stay in orbit, to preserve his squadron for the main battle. But he was right. They needed intelligence, and the only way to get it was through combat. Take the quantum disruption missiles, she said finally. Use the asteroid belt for cover. Make them hurt. Make them remember you. Wu Jin smiled. We'll make them remember Earth, General. The connection ended. Daiyun looked at the massive display showing the enemy fleet's approach. They would reach the asteroid belt in 6 hours. The main fleet would arrive at Earth in 3 days. 3 days to prepare for the end of the world dot around her. The command center buzzed with activity. Officers coordinated defenses. Scientists uploaded untested weapons. Captains said goodbye to families they might never see again. Outside the building, evacuation sirens wailed across Geneva. Soon they would wail across every city on Earth. Daiyun opened a worldwide broadcast channel. Every screen on the planet would carry her message. Every human would hear her words. People of Earth, she began. An alien fleet approaches our world. They come not as friends, but as conquerors. They believe we are weak. They believe we will surrender. They have studied our history and think they understand us. She paused, gathering her thoughts. But they have misunderstood something fundamental about humanity. Yes, we have known peace for 30 years. Yes, We have turned swords into plowshares and bombs into power plants. But peace was always our choice, not our nature. We chose to stop fighting each other because we hoped for something better. That hope still exists. Her voice grew harder. But we have never been good at submission. We have never bowed to tyranny. From the first human who stood upright and picked up a rock to defend their family, to the last soldier who will stand on our walls when darkness comes, we have one consistent trait. We endure. We fight. We survive. She looked directly into the camera. I will not lie to you. The enemy is vast. We are few. Many will die in the coming days. Perhaps all of us. But if we must fall, we will fall fighting. We will make them pay for every inch of our world. We will teach them that some species are too stubborn to conquer. And if we do fall, the story of humanity's last stand will echo across the galaxy forever. Dayun closed her eyes for a moment. To every soldier, every pilot, every person who will stand in defense of our home, thank you. To everyone else, find shelter. Protect each other. Hold on to hope. We fight not because we expect to win, but because surrender is not in our nature. She ended the broadcast. Jay was stood nearby, tears streaming down her face. Beautiful speech, the captain whispered. Empty words if we lose, Dayun replied. But she did not feel empty. She felt something else. Something the Vraxians would soon understand. She felt human. The asteroid belt drifted in silence, countless rocks tumbling through the void between Mars and Jupiter. Among them, 12 human fighters waited. Their engines were cold, their weapons primed, their pilots ready to die. Lieutenant Wu Jin checked his instruments for the 100th time. The quantum disruption missiles hung beneath his fighter like silver coffins. The scientists said they would tear apart anything at the molecular level. They also said the missiles might explode during launch or malfunction, or simply fail. Humanity's last hope rested on untested weapons and desperate courage. Contact, his sensor officer whispered over the radio. Lead elements entering the belt now. Wu Jin saw them on his screen. Massive shapes, larger than any human ship, moving with absolute confidence. They were not even running combat formations. They expected no resistance. Why would they? Earth was primitive. Earth was weak. Earth would fall like all the others. Count? Wu Jin asked. Forward screen has 40 ships. Main fleet behind them. 40 ships. 12 fighters. But numbers meant nothing if you were already dead. Wu Jin had made peace with his fate hours ago. Now he only wanted to make it count. Remember the training, he told his squadron. Hit and fade. Don't stay to fight. Our job is to hurt them and give command information. Nothing else matters. 11 voices confirmed. Wu Jin felt proud of them. They were so young. Some had families. Some had dreams beyond this war. All of them had volunteered for this mission, knowing it was suicide. The Vrakian ships moved deeper into the belt. Wu Jin waited. Patience was a weapon too. Let them get comfortable. Let them think they were safe. Lock targets, he ordered. Fire on my mark. The range closed. 500 kilometers. 400. 300. Mark. 12 fighters erupted from their hiding places. 12 quantum disruption missiles streaked toward the Vraxian formation. The aliens had seconds to react, and they wasted those seconds in confusion. By the time their weapons came online, the missiles had reached their targets. The first missile hit a Vraxian battlecruiser dead center. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the ship began to scream. Not audibly in the vacuum of space, but on every sensor frequency. Metal tore apart at the molecular level. Armor became dust. The battlecruiser folded in on itself like paper in a fire, and then it was simply gone. The second and third missiles also found targets. 2 more Vraxian ships died in silence and light. The others scattered, their confident formation breaking apart in panic. Gravitational mines now. Wu Jin shouted. The mines activated throughout the asteroid belt. Invisible wells of crushing gravity appeared like traps. A Vraxian destroyer stumbled into one and was immediately pulled toward a 3-kilometer asteroid. The ship's shields flared bright, then failed. Metal screamed as it compressed. The asteroid and ship met in a shower of debris. 2 more ships followed, their pilots trying to evade the human fighters and flying directly into the minefield. The gravitational forces tore them apart slowly, peeling armor and hull like fruit skin. "We got 11. Someone screamed over the radio. 11 confirmed kills. But the Vraxians were recovering now. Their forward screen was damaged but not destroyed. Return fire began, filling space with energy beams and projectiles. A human fighter vanished in a flash of light. Then another. "Break and scatter," Wu Jin ordered. "Give them nothing to hit." His squadron dispersed into the asteroids. The Vraxians followed, their superior sensors tracking the small human ships. More fire. Another fighter died. Wu Jin's console lit up with warnings. A near miss had damaged his left engine. On the Vraxian flagship, far behind the forward screen, Commander Tholmer watched in disbelief. 11 ships. 11 of his ships destroyed by primitives. He had conquered 47 worlds and never lost 11 ships in a single engagement. All vessels maximum aggression. He roared, "Destroy those fighters. I want their wreckage brought to me." Beside him, Admiral Kyungmin watched the battle on a monitor. The guards had chained him to a support beam, but left him able to see. He needed to witness humanity's defeat. Instead, he was smiling. 11 ships, Kyungmin said quietly. 12 fighters. "Do the math, Commander." Tholmer spun on him. "Your people are dying." "Yes," Kyungmin agreed. "And they're taking you with them. That's the point you still don't understand." 2 more human fighters died. Then a third. Wu Jin's squadron was down to 6 ships now. The quantum missiles were expended. The gravitational mines had claimed all the victims they would get. Now it was just skill and desperation against overwhelming force. "This is Fighter 4, a voice crackled over the radio. "My ship is crippled. I'm setting collision course on that cruiser. Tell my wife I love her." -4. Wu Jin shouted. "Pull back," and the transmission cut off as Fighter 4 accelerated straight into a Vraxian cruiser. The fighter's power core was still intact. When it struck the cruiser's bridge, both ships exploded in a miniature sun. "Fighter 7, I'm hit," another voice called. "Port side is gone." Going for the same maneuver. "Fighter 7, wait," another explosion. Another Vraxian ship crippled beyond repair. Wu Jin felt tears on his face. His people were using themselves as weapons. They were not pulling back. They were not retreating. They were spending their lives like currency, buying time and information with blood. 3, 5, 11. Pull back to Earth. Wu Jin ordered. "That's a direct order. Get back and report what you've learned." "What about you, sir?" Fighter 3 asked. Wu Jin looked at his console. His ship was dying. His engines were flickering. He had maybe 5 minutes before total failure. But the Vraxian fleet was advancing again. They were angry now. Good. Angry enemies made mistakes. "I'm buying you time," Wu Jin said. "Now go. That's an order." The 3 fighters broke away, accelerating toward Earth. The Vraxians let them go, too focused on the remaining ships. Wu Jin waited until his squadron was clear, then turned his dying fighter toward the largest Vraxian ship he could see. "My name is Lieutenant Wu Jin of Earth," he said into the open channel. I want you to remember it. I want you to remember that 12 humans destroyed 14 of your ships. I want you to know that millions more waited Earth, and every one of us will make you pay this price." He accelerated. Energy beams washed over his shields, stripping them away in seconds. His hull began to burn. His console exploded in sparks. But his trajectory was locked, and his power core was overloading perfectly. On the flagship, Tolmer watched the human fighter approach. Shoot it down. Destroy it. But Wu Jin was already too close. The fighter struck a Vraxian destroyer at full speed, and its overloaded power core detonated like a small nuclear weapon. The destroyer broke in half, spilling atmosphere and bodies into space. Silence filled the Vraxian fleet. In one engagement, they had lost 15 ships. 15 ships to 12 primitive fighters. The humans had not retreated. They had not surrendered. They had simply attacked and died and taken the Vraxians with them. Tolmer stared at the debris field. His mandibles clicked nervously. Behind him, Kyungmin laughed again. That terrible, knowing laugh. "First blood to humanity," the Admiral said. "And we're just getting started." Tholmer said nothing. He was beginning to understand something. The intelligence reports had been wrong. The scouts had been wrong. This was not going to be an easy conquest. This was going to be a war. 3 human fighters limped back to Earth, their hulls scorched, their crews traumatized. But they brought something more valuable than their lives. They brought data. They brought proof that the Vraxians could bleed, and bleeding enemies could die. The Vraxian fleet arrived at Earth orbit diminished and angry. What began as 1,200 warships now numbered barely 1,000. The humans had turned every piece of space debris into a weapon. Satellites fired missiles until destroyed. Automated stations exploded when approached. Even abandoned spacecraft had been rigged with bombs. The journey through the solar system had become a nightmare. Every asteroid hit a trap. Every approach vector concealed a mine. The humans fought with no honor, no dignity, no rules. They simply killed and died and killed again. Commander Tholmer stood on his bridge, staring at the blue planet ahead. It looked peaceful, beautiful, completely wrong for a species this violent. He had lost 200 ships getting here, and they had not even reached the main battle yet. Orbital defenses detected, his tactical officer reported. Multiple platforms, armed stations, weapon satellites. Configuration is chaotic but extensive. Chaotic, Tholmer repeated. That word described everything about humanity. They did not fight with logic or strategy. They fought with rage and desperation and creativity. It was exhausting. "Begin bombardment," he ordered. "Destroy the orbital installations. Clear a path for landing forces." The Vraxian fleet opened fire. Energy beams lanced down toward the platforms. And the platforms fired back. Captain Jawa stood in the command center of orbital platform Sol 1, watching her displays fill with targets. The enemy had finally arrived. Her crew of volunteers worked frantically, loading missiles and charging weapons. They had trained for this. Trained knowing they would probably die doing it. "Fire pattern Delta," she ordered. "Concentrate on their command ships." The platform shook as missiles launched. Around Earth orbit, dozens of platforms did the same. Hundreds of missiles streaked toward the Vraxian fleet. The aliens had shields, advanced shields, that could stop most weapons. But the humans had learned something from Lieutenant Wu Jin's attack. Quantum disruption missiles ignored shields. They attacked matter itself. 15 Vraxian ships died in the first exchange. Platform Sol 1 took a direct hit and began venting atmosphere. Jawa sealed the damaged sections, cutting off 3 crew members who had no time to evacuate. Their sacrifice bought minutes for the rest. "Launch the drones," she commanded. "From the moon and Mars, thousands of drones began their journey. Each was small, cheap, and carried a single nuclear warhead. They were kamikaze weapons, unmanned and unstoppable by anything except destruction. The Vraxians had to shoot down each one individually. It was mathematics. The humans had more drones than the Vraxians had targeting systems. Some would get through. Some would detonate. Some would kill. Tolmer watched in horror as his fleet began taking losses. These were not military losses. These were murder. The humans were not trying to win through skill or superior technology. They were winning through sheer volume of sacrificial attacks. "Sir, we've lost 40 ships in the last hour," his tactical officer reported. "Drone impacts, mine detonations, suicide fighters. They're throwing everything at us. Where's their fleet?" Tholmer demanded. "Where are their warships?" "Unknown, sir. Our sensors detect minimal military vessels. Most of their attacks are automated or kamikaze." That word. Kamikaze. The humans had a special word for suicide attacks. Of course they did. They had probably been doing this to each other for thousands of years before they turned it on the stars. On Earth, General Dayun watched the battle unfold. The orbital platforms were being destroyed one by one. Platform Sol 1 went silent after Captain Jawa's last transmission. Platform Tokyo 7 exploded in a brilliant flash. Platform London 3 simply stopped responding. 5,000 volunteers dying in orbit. But they were taking 300 Vraxian ships with them. "Activate the planetary defense grid," Dayun ordered. Dr. Taeyang had spent 2 years building it. A network of particle accelerators hidden across Earth's surface, all connected through quantum computers, all coordinated by the neural network AI. It was humanity's last gamble. A weapon so powerful it might kill them all just from the feedback. "The AI is online," a technician reported. "It's requesting permission to fire." "Requesting?" Dayun asked. "I thought it didn't care about human authority." "It's learning, General. It understands cooperation now." Dayun took a breath. Permission granted. Fire. The planet became a weapon. From 1,000 points on Earth's surface, invisible beams of accelerated particles shot into space. The quantum computer coordinated them perfectly, threading needles through gaps in their own orbital defenses, avoiding their own remaining platforms, targeting only Vraxian ships. The beams moved at near light speed. The Vraxians had no warning. 300 ships simply stopped functioning. Their hulls were undamaged, but every electronic system inside had been fried by the particle bombardment. The ships drifted, dead, their crews trapped inside darkened metal coffins. Tolmer felt his flagship shudder. Backup systems activated as primary power failed. Emergency lights flickered on. Around him, officers scrambled to restore functionality. "Report," he screamed. "Systems failure across the fleet, sir. 300 ships affected. They're dead in space." "That's impossible." "What kind of weapon?" "It came from the planet, sir. From multiple locations simultaneously. We can't defend against that many firing points." Tholmer looked at the blue world below. It had seemed so peaceful, so ready for conquest. Instead, it had become a fortress. A trap. A killing ground. "Pull back," he ordered. "Reform at lunar orbit." "Sir, that's retreat. That's survival," Tholmer shouted. "Pull back now." The Vraxian fleet began to withdraw, dragging their crippled vessels with them. Behind them, Earth's orbital defenses continued firing until their ammunition ran dry. The surviving platforms, fewer than 10 now, went silent. Their crews had given everything. Admiral Kyung Min watched from his cell. The guards had stopped paying attention to him. They were too busy trying to restore the flagship systems. He counted the enemy losses in his head. 15 ships in the asteroid belt. 200 during the approach, 300 in orbit. More than half the Vraxian fleet was destroyed or disabled, and Earth's military had barely engaged yet. The neural network AI sent a message to General Bayun. Enemy retreating. Recommend immediate counterattack. We have 15 operational warships remaining. Launch now while they are disorganized. Bayun hesitated. 15 ships against 700. But the AI was right. The enemy was wounded, confused, retreating. This was the moment. All ships, she broadcast. Attack pattern Omega. Close range, maximum aggression. Make them think we have reinforcements coming. The 15 Earth warships, hidden behind the moon until now, accelerated toward the Vraxian fleet. They were smaller, weaker, but they were crewed by humans who had watched their orbital platforms die, who had seen 5,000 volunteers give their lives, who understood that retreat was not an option. The ships opened fire at point-blank range, targeting the already crippled vessels. The neural network AI coordinated their movements, making them seem like 50 ships instead of 15. The Vraxians, already panicked, fired wildly in the chaos. The humans boarded 3 disabled Vraxian vessels. Breaching pods slammed into hulls. Human soldiers poured through, armed with whatever weapons they could carry. The Vraxians were larger, stronger, but the humans fought in the close confines of corridors and compartments where size meant nothing. Room by room, deck by deck, the humans took the ships. The Vraxians had never faced this kind of warfare. They bombed planets from orbit. They didn't do boarding actions. They didn't fight in hallways with knives and bullets. The humans did dot by the time Tholmer regrouped his fleet at lunar orbit. He had lost 50 more ships, and 3 had been captured entirely. His remaining forces were terrified, exhausted, and questioning everything. He looked at the casualty reports. Over 600 ships destroyed or disabled. Nearly half his crews dead or captured. All in 3 days. 3 days against a species that was supposed to surrender in 3 hours. Behind him, Kilmen spoke quietly. Still think we're primitive, Commander? Tholmer said nothing. He stared at Earth, the deadly blue sphere, and realized something terrible. He was losing. The Vraxian flagship's bridge was silent except for the hum of damaged systems. Commander Tholmer stared at the tactical display showing his remaining forces. 89 ships. From 1,200. He now commanded 80-9. The same number Earth had started with. Sir, his tactical officer spoke carefully. High Overlord Vexther is requesting an update. Tholmer's mandibles clicked nervously. He had been avoiding this communication for hours. How did you tell the Empire that their unstoppable Third Fleet had been stopped? That primitives with barely 4 centuries of technology had destroyed the pride of the Vraxian military? Connect him, Tholmer said finally. Vexther's face appeared on the screen. His expression was unreadable, but his 6 eyes burned with intensity. Report, the Overlord commanded. We have engaged the humans, Tholmer began. The resistance is significant. I have received casualty reports, Vexther said coldly. 600 ships lost. 3 captured. Explain. Where did he even begin? The quantum missiles that ignored shields? The gravitational mines? The kamikaze drones? The planetary defense grid that fired from 1,000 locations simultaneously? The boarding parties that fought like demons in close quarters? They do not fight like other species, Tholmer said. They weaponize everything. Their casualties mean nothing to them. Every soldier, every pilot, every civilian with a weapon treats their life as ammunition. You had 1,200 ships, Vexther said, against fewer than 100. Numbers mean nothing when your enemy has no regard for survival, Tholmer replied. They have a word, kamikaze. It means divine wind. It means dying to take your enemy with you. They perfected this thousands of years ago, fighting each other. Vexter was silent for a long moment. The council will demand an explanation. Tell them the truth, Tholmer said. We encountered a species that cannot be conquered because they refuse to acknowledge conquest as possible. They will die to the last human before they surrender. And they will take us with them. On another part of the flagship, Admiral Kyung-min heard the sound of fighting. Human boarding parties were still active throughout the captured ships. Some had moved to the flagship itself, fighting their way through decks and corridors. The guards watching him had left to join the defense. The cell door exploded inward. A human soldier appeared, weapon ready, face covered in Vratsian blood. Admiral Kyung-min? The soldier asked. That's me, Kyung-min replied. Sir, we're getting you out. Can you walk? Kyung-min tested his legs. 3 weeks in a cell had weakened him, but adrenaline was a powerful thing. I can run if I have to. Good, because we have to. They moved through the flagship's corridors. Bodies lay everywhere, both human and Vraxian. The boarding parties had taken heavy casualties, but they had accomplished their mission. Every captured ship would be studied. Every technology would be analyzed. The humans learned fast, and now they would learn from the Vraxians themselves. They reached an escape pod. The soldier sealed Kyung-min inside. What about you? The admiral asked. Someone has to cover the retreat, sir. Tell General Daeun we got you. That's enough for me. Before Kyung-min could protest, the pod launched. He watched through the small window as the soldier turned back into the flagship, firing at pursuing Vraxians. Another life spent like currency. Another human who chose to die so others could live. The pod drifted toward Earth. Rescue ships found it within an hour. When Kyung-min finally stood on Earth's surface again, the sun was rising over Geneva. He had never seen anything more beautiful. General Daeun met him at the landing site. She looked exhausted, older than when he had left. But she was smiling. Welcome home, Admiral, she said. What's the status? He asked. The Vraxians are retreating. We've confirmed it. Their remaining ships are leaving the solar system. Kyung-min felt his legs go weak. Daeun caught him, supporting his weight. We won? He whispered. We survived, Daeun corrected. That's the same thing for humans. In space, Tholmer watched Earth shrink in his display. His remaining 89 ships limped away from the system, carrying wounded crews and broken spirits. He had sent a final message to Vexter before entering the faster-than-light jump. Recommend Earth be classified as forbidden space. Any future contact should be diplomatic only. Military conquest is inadvisable. Inadvisable. What a weak word for what he meant. Impossible. Suicidal. Insane. Those were better words. But the Empire did not like admitting impossibility. Behind him, medical teams treated wounded soldiers. Engineers struggled to repair damaged systems. Officers quietly discussed what they would tell their families. Nobody spoke of victory. Nobody mentioned conquest. They spoke only of survival and the miracle of being alive. The Vraxian High Council received Tholmer's report in stunned silence. 300 years of conquest, and this was their first true defeat. Not a setback. Not a tactical withdrawal. A complete, catastrophic loss. High Overlord Vexter stood before the council. The human species is classified as hostile and forbidden, he announced. All ships are to avoid the Sol system. Trade, exploration, and military operations in that sector are prohibited until further notice. Because we fear them? One council member asked. Because we respect them, Vexter corrected. They have proven themselves too dangerous to conquer and too valuable to exterminate. Let them remain in their system. In time, Perhaps they will be potential allies rather than enemies. The Council agreed. Earth's coordinates were marked in red across every Vraxian star chart. The Forbidden World. The planet that shattered an armada. On Earth, General Dayun addressed the planet one final time. Cities were in ruins. Millions had died. The orbital platforms were gone. The defense grid had burned out from overuse. But the sky was clear of enemies. People of Earth, she began, we have survived. At great cost, with terrible sacrifice, but we have survived. The enemy came expecting an easy victory. They found something else. They found humanity. She paused, gathering her thoughts. We did not win because we had better weapons or superior technology. We won because we refused to lose. Because every person who stood against the darkness understood that some things are worth dying for. Freedom, home, each other. The camera zoomed in on her face. Tears streamed down her cheeks, but her voice remained strong. We have lost orbital platforms, ships, and thousands of brave souls. But we have gained something more valuable. We have shown the galaxy what humanity is capable of when cornered. We have proven that Earth is not a target. Earth is a warning. Around the world, people listened. In bunkers and shelters, in ruined cities and intact towns. Humans heard her words and felt something primal stir in their hearts. Pride, defiance, hope. The enemy marked us as forbidden space, Dayun continued. They think this is a restriction. But we know the truth. It is respect. They will not return because they cannot defeat us. And any other species watching from the stars now knows the same thing. She smiled through her tears. Humanity is not primitive. Humanity is not weak. Humanity is dangerous. And the galaxy will remember that for a long time to come. The broadcast ended. General Dayun turned away from the camera and looked out the window at the sunrise. Dr. Taeyang stood beside her, equally exhausted, equally proud. They'll come back eventually, the scientist said quietly. Maybe not the Vraxians, but someone will. I know, Dayun replied. But next time, we'll be ready. Next time, we'll have learned from their technology. Next time, we'll be stronger. And if they bring more ships? Dayun smiled. It was the same smile Admiral Kyung-min had worn in the Vraxian Council chamber. The smile of someone who knew a terrible secret. Then we'll teach them the same lesson. Humanity doesn't lose because we have better weapons. We win because we refuse to accept defeat. Across the galaxy, other species received reports of the Earth engagement. Some dismissed it as exaggeration. Others studied the data carefully. A few wise leaders looked at the casualty ratios and made immediate decisions. Earth would be contacted diplomatically. Earth would be respected. Earth would never be invaded, because the galaxy had learned what the Vraxians discovered too late. Humans were not the strongest species. They were not the smartest. They were not the most advanced, but they were the most stubborn. And in the darkness of space, where survival was everything, stubborn was more valuable than strength. Admiral Kyung-min stood in his new office at Earth Defense Command. On the wall hung a memorial. 12 names. Lieutenant Wu Jin and his squadron. The first humans to die defending Earth from alien invaders. They would not be the last, but they would always be remembered as the first. Below their names, a simple inscription. They came for an easy victory. We gave them a warning. Remember that humanity's greatest weapon is not technology or numbers. It is the refusal to surrender. Kyung-min touched the memorial gently. Outside his window, reconstruction crews worked on damaged buildings. Ships were being built. Defenses were being improved. Earth was healing, but Earth was also preparing. Because now they knew the truth. They were not alone in the universe, and the universe was about to learn what that meant.